Hey friend, Levi here. We are live on the YouTube mobile app. I wanted to go live today because I wanted to do a quick video update talking about some of my favorite Gh5 lenses that I've been using, and also just share some of the future plans here on the left coast. For starters, I'm going to turn on another light so this looks more balanced. We're doing it live. That looks a lot better. So today in particular, I wanted to go over my setup that I've been using with the Gh5. This is kind of my self-filming rig per se. So I'm going to talk about how I've been using this, particularly in my last video. This is the exact setup that I use to kind of get that self-film shot. So I want to talk about this setup, and I also want to talk about the different lenses that I've been really enjoying on the Micro Four Thirds system, because I got some new lenses in and I've been testing some things out. So if you're popping in the chat, make sure you say hi, say where you're tuning in from, and also let me know if this audio sounds good. If you're catching this after the fact, in the comments you can actually let me know some of your questions based off the Gh5 system and some of the questions I'm going to ask in the further into this live stream about what content you guys want to see coming from the left coast. There's also something really cool. I've got the biggest Life's Better When You Make Stuff poster in existence on the wall over there. I'm actually going to go lift one up. So this poster right here is the biggest, oh geez, we're doing it live, guys. This poster right here is the biggest Life's Better When You Make Stuff poster ever. It's like massive. I think it's 24 by 36, which makes it huge. And now I got to find out where I'm going to put it when I'm live on the air. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, right on. Great to see people from Toronto, Paris, Rhode Island, Bellingham, UK. Cool. So lenses, Micro Four Thirds lenses. This was something that I was kind of skeptical about when I first started using the Micro Four Thirds system. The first time that I actually used the Micro Four Thirds system, and I've talked about this before, mainly was on my film, that one right there, Untethered. Oh geez, you can't really see it. Let's see the top. Yeah, Untethered. And I got access to the GH4 because I did some free shooting for a buddy, and he had a GH4, so he let me use his entirely for free. I need to make sure we're on Wi-Fi here because my data plan could go through the roof. Perfect, we are on Wi-Fi. Hopefully everything's working out okay. And I actually only used the Tokina 11 to 16 that entire time that I used the GH4. So I never really got to know the benefits of using these smaller Micro Four Thirds lenses because there is actually a lot of benefits. And so I want to show you some of the lenses that I've been using today and give some advice. So if you only had to buy 2 lenses, these are the ones that I would recommend. Because now that I've been using the Gh5, I've had an opportunity to try out some of the native mount lenses. And there's some really cool functionality that goes along with that, especially with the dual image stabilization. So if you were going to buy one lens, for your Gh5, which lens should that be? And my highest recommendation is the 12 to 35. This lens is amazing. So technically the coverage, if you're used to thinking about it on like a full frame sensor, technically the coverage is around 24 to 70. And for those that are wondering what that even means, essentially it means you can get a nice wide shot, but then you can also get decently tied in. So if you were going to buy one lens, I'd buy this one. This is the Mark II version. It goes for around $1,000. If you wanted to save some cash, you could buy the Mark I version. You lose some of the more powerful image stabilization upgrades. You also lose the ability to do zooms like this without the image flickering. So if you're ever going to do any zoom reframings during your shots, and that's important to you, maybe you want to think about the Mark II. But I've used both, and they're really great lenses. And so essentially with just this lens right here, I could film an entire documentary, and I could do it really well. And that's amazing. It's got a continuous f2.8 aperture, and what that means is as you go through the zoom range, it doesn't change how much light is coming into the lens. So with some of the lenses, for example, like this kit lens right here, it's actually, let's get this correct, it's f2.8 to f4. So as you go through the zoom range, the lens is actually slowly letting in less light. Now, if you stayed at f4 the whole ways, you you wouldn't be getting a slightly darker image. But if you were shooting wide open, which is the most amount of light that you can let into one of these lenses, if it was wide open and you were zooming it in, your image would actually slowly be getting darker if you had everything on manual. If you have everything on auto, if you had everything on auto, then it would actually brighten up your image as you go. So I don't necessarily recommend lenses like this for filming if you want to stay wide open, but surprisingly, this 12 to 60 I've actually been coming to love as well. So if you do happen to buy the Gh5 in a kit with the 12 to 60, I think you'll really enjoy this lens as well. So 12 to 35, that's my top recommendation. My next recommendation would be the 35 to 100. And this lens, again, it's everything that's amazing about the 12 to 35, but it's got longer reach. So you continue on that range and you go 35 to 100, and you can get some really tight, amazing shots with this lens. So if you were going to buy two lenses, those are the two that I would recommend. There's Mark II versions of both of those lenses, and I think you'd be okay with the Mark I versions if you wanted to save some cash. But what's so cool is that these lenses are tiny. It's like this is the equivalent of a 70 to 200 on a Canon, which is it's awesome because you can like have an entire filming setup that just fits into a little bag and take it with you. So for those that are just tuning in, I'm chatting about what lenses I love the most on the Gh5, and I'm also going to be answering questions and taking requests about the types of videos that you want to see from me in the coming months. So I'd love to hear some of those requests in both the comments when the video goes live and also when we're live right now. So I'm going to turn over and just kind of see what y'all are saying over here. What about the two new Sigma lenses come out, the 14 and the 24 to 70 with speed booster? I really enjoy using the speed booster, so let me pull that from back here. I believe I have it back here. So I have some like native EF mount lenses, and I do enjoy using the speed booster because it lets you get, if I'm using a 51.4, I can get the full advantage of how much light this lens can let in using a speed booster on a Gh5 and get the stabilized sensor. I would love to buy the 18 to 35. That lens looks like an amazing all-around lens, especially if you need more light coming in, because the 12 to 35 is f2.8, but because of the smaller sensor size, sometimes you miss out a little bit on that low light capability of some of the larger sensors. So if you are going to be doing a lot of like concert filming or things like that, I would recommend looking at some of the faster primes or doing a speed booster setup. One of the faster primes I have been using is this 12mm Summilux right here. So this is 12 millimeters and it's f1.4. And I've been really loving this lens, especially because it allows you to throw out the background if you're shooting within a good distance. And what I mean by throw out the background is gets you that nice blurry depth of field look. So this is the filming rig that I used for my last video and some of my other like self-filmed videos. And so I have the screen normally flipped out like this. So this is the setup right here, and I usually stand about this far away from it, and I have it on a tripod. And I have the battery grip on. That's mainly so I can get some extra battery life out of it. That's not entirely necessary. But then I have the XLR adapter and the Rode NTG3. It's amazing how much more depth to the voice the NTG3 can get over just like a VideoMic Pro. So if you want the best sound you can get, this is just about the best sound you can get for a self-filmed video. So this shotgun mic uses the phantom power from inside the Lumix XLR1, I believe it's called. And then you can set the levels and it works brilliantly. It does use your battery faster. And I bought this XLR cable. I really should. It's a LYX Pro right angle cable. I don't know why more companies don't make right angle cables, but I wanted it as clean and tidy as possible. And then one of the mods that people keep asking me about is I chopped off the little metal clips that go on the side here and just added paracord. This is just like, I think 300-pound test cord, and I do this that way it doesn't clank on the camera like this. But this is the setup that I've been absolutely loving the results from for filming like self this way. And I also use this for some of the doc style shooting that I've been doing for a few of my clients. So I'll throw on, typically I'll throw on the 12 to 35 and I'll roll around with a setup like this with a windscreen of some kind. So I have both the dead cat, of course I dropped it. I have both the dead cat, which is like one that works better for wind, and then the smaller foam one. And this is like my go-to filming setup right now. If you've got questions about that setup, let me know in the comments. I bought some cheap batteries from Amazon, so I got one of these like new Mawa charger things that charges off USB, and then take one of the batteries, put it in it, you charge it off USB. It is handy that it charges off USB, but it does seem to charge slower, and these batteries from Amazon kind of suck, to be really honest. Yeah, they're not very great. They go by very fast. I don't have any experience with the 18 to 35 from Sigma on the Gh5 setup with the speed booster. I do have experience with the Sigma 18 to 35 shooting on red, and I really like that shooting on red as long as it doesn't vignette. You got to think about your resolutions and things like that, but I really do like the 18 to 35. I don't really have a question about lenses or anything, but your YouTube channel is so great. Thanks, Jackson. Appreciate that. Yeah, now I don't know how many people will still be watching at this point when the video is up for replay. But if you're just tuning in and you saw my last video talking just about disappointment, I just want to say it's really cool, the response in the comments. If you haven't had a chance yet, I'd go check that out and just kind of see other people sharing. I guess most of it is technically encouragement for me, so it won't necessarily be encouragement for you. But that's everything that I would hope for in this kind of thing that I'm trying to do, where I'm just sharing the process with you. It's not always as easy to share some of the like personal like way that you feel about things, and it's kind of always, it's a little awkward over video sometimes, and you don't want to make it seem like things are worse off than they are, but you actually want to share how it feels at different times. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to the way that people responded to that. The response was like exactly what I hoped it could be, in that people kind of got where I was coming from and knew that I wasn't trying to complain or things like that, because I'm still like super grateful. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and yeah, that's really cool. I'm definitely going to try to go through some of those comments and respond because there's some really cool stories that people were leaving there. So I want to say thanks. Jesse, I got the paracord from Mac. It's not like paracord in the sense of what guys make the bracelets out of. It's just like a different style of cord. I'm not sure what the difference is, but it's like just thin enough that it fits perfectly through the size slot there. And so I would do this to a Sony camera as well. If you have a Sony, and those stupid clips that make all the noise. I hate those. And then another thing I did is I actually took a sticker, one of my Leftcoast stickers, and I covered the light. And the reason why I did that is when I'm filming, like going through the airport and stuff, sometimes it's a little awkward when people know that they're being filmed in an airport or things like that, if I'm just trying to film like my boarding pass or something like that. So what I typically do is, well, now that I have this sticker over the light, people can't really tell that the camera is on. And then what I also do is I hold the camera upside down, usually with this XLR adapter off. So let's take this off. So I'll hold the camera upside down, kind of like, usually I don't travel with the battery grip on. So let's just do this for real. So I'll hold the camera like this, kind of just to the side like this, and it looks like I'm not doing anything with it because it's like upside down, and I just hold my passport and I just try to make it look like I'm not filming, but I am. And then I just flip the image in post. That's my little secret for awkward filming. At NAB, that was the first place that I've been to in my life where I felt like totally comfortable just taking my camera, pointing it at myself, and walking around in like a public space and vlogging. I've never felt terribly comfortable doing that, and NAB just seems like the perfect place to feel comfortable doing that, because everyone's just like a geeky nerd who like loves cameras. So like who honestly really cares? And when you know like what everyone is like, it sometimes makes it easier to do something like that. If you have any questions or suggestions about the future content that I make, I'm trying to think through how to make like a storytelling series, and it's really hard to know where to start on this, but I want to create a series of videos just kind of talking through my process of how I make adventure documentaries. And it feels like I've been talking about doing this forever, and we're now getting closer to actually making it happen. And I've been telling myself that it needs to be like perfect, but I think I just need to be okay with it being less than perfect and just starting and then kind of refining the content as I go. I would love to hear in the comments or in the live chat what are kind of like the main struggles that you have when it comes to like making any type of adventure story or adventure documentary. I'd really love to just hear what those are, because it's hard for me to understand like where to even start on sharing how to do that. Yeah, if you haven't gotten a chance yet, I was just on a podcast about 2 weeks ago called the Wedding Film Academy podcast. You can search that up on your little iTunes podcast player. Look up that podcast. And about 3 episodes ago, I was interviewed on there, and I talked about my process for doc filming. If you're interested in learning more about doc filming, go listen to that podcast, and then drop a comment on this video and let me know if you have questions based off that, because I'd really love to hear what types of things that stirs in people's minds about storytelling. So that would be pretty great. I would appreciate that. What mic settings for the Rode VideoMic Pro are you using with the Gh5? Keep dB at normal and camera audio to -12. What are my settings? I'm pretty sure I just have it at like -2, and I have the Rode mic just set at 0, to be honest. Yeah, it's set at 0. So this is the Rode VideoMic Pro, and I have the gain level on the mic set to 0. And then let's go through here and look for the audio settings. Thank you for your patience, people. Where is the audio settings? Yeah, I just have mic level adjust at 0 as well. Technically, I could do mic level adjust down to -12, and then I could put the VideoMic Pro at, oh, it's only +20. Technically, I could like make this go negative by a lot, like -12 maybe. But what I like about leaving the setting at 0 is when I take this microphone off, it allows it to behave like normal, so that the settings aren't messed up when the mic's off. Typically, it's helpful to boost the sound at the microphone source instead of doing it in camera. But since the levels are at 0, it's not really boosting it much, so I'm not getting tons of noise introduced into the sound, if that makes sense. What do you think about A6500 versus Gh5 versus ADD? I think ADD is the best if you want to spend the least amount of money. I think Gh5 is the best all around if you want something that you can have the best 4K image out of when you have good daylight, and have the best codec when the 400 all intro gets introduced, and also have 4K 60, which is a really big deal for me. So for me, if you like want to do proper filming, I think the Gh5 is the best system to do both, because it's got the flip out screen, and it also has really good frame rate options and upcoming features that make it like a really great doc filming camera. And also, I mean, I don't shoot tons of narrative stuff or anything like that, but I think it would be pretty powerful for narrative situations. And then the A6500, if you wanted to have something that's in between price points on the ADD or the Gh5, so it's in between price point on that, you can still get an amazing image out of it, and it's got good autofocus. So it's kind of somewhere in between there, and it's a little bit tinier, but I wouldn't use that on professional filming gigs as readily, especially not as like my main filming camera. So right now, I really trust the Gh5 system, especially using it on paid client projects, using it as my A-cam. I have no issue with that. I know when I hit record, everything is gonna work fine. I haven't been able to trust the Sony systems as much for that. So it makes the Sony cameras more easy to use them as like B-roll filming cameras on personal projects. But if it came down to it and I had to like use that and trust it, yeah, I just don't trust the 6000 series as much. Mine's sitting right over there. Yeah, I wish I could trust it more. If someone wants to buy my A6300, message me on Twitter. I'm very interested in selling it. I just don't use it anymore because I do everything on the Gh5. Yeah, that's my thoughts. So if you need 4K or things like that, the A6500 is definitely a step up from the ADD. I wonder why the bar turned yellow. Poor connection. Shoot, there's a poor connection. Dang it. Very bad. Oh dear. Well, I might have just messed that up. Whoops. Well, that might be it. Thanks for tuning in to this live stream. Again, I seriously mean it. If you've got any questions about things relating to just what struggles are you facing with storytelling, I'd really like to hear those questions. So dropping those in the comments, dropping them in the chat box even right now. I'm going to hang out in the chat box here for a bit and continue to answer and look at any questions that you have. But I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for coming on this journey, especially for everyone that helped vote for us in the giveaway. I just immensely appreciate that. That was just such a crazy ride, and it just blew me away that people were willing to support me that much. So thank you. We're going to close this video, this live stream off. But again, I'm going to stay here in the chat. So if you want to talk in the chat, I'm going to be here for another 5-10 minutes. So thanks for watching. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. And remember, life's better when you make stuff.